Hey everyone, I'm Will from the Mature Minded Gamers, and today I'm going to be bringing you Tiny Epic Tactics, designed by Scott Alms and published by Gamelin Games. It is a 1 to 4 player tactic game that plays a cooperative mode, a solo, a free for all, 2 versus 2. It is a tiny epic game that is one of my all time favorites. So let's go ahead and jump to the table, see how the game works, and we'll be right back with our final thoughts. Alright, so in Tiny Epic Tactics, you are going to be a band of 4 different character type classes, such as the fighter, the ranger, the beastman, or the wizard. And you're going to be taking your 4 characters and you're going to be having a corresponding color. So let's say we were the red player, and they're very well done. They're individualized, so you can kind of see what each of them are. So you've got the wizard, the beast, the ranger, and the warrior. And you're going to be placing them out on the board. So in a 2-player game, for example, let's say we kind of have a setup like this. And then the blue player with their tokens are going to be set up on the opposite corners here like this. And there's little stars in these corners so you can kind of know where the characters are going to start. And the coolest thing about this is each of these types of characters have different attributes. So the fighter is your dual purpose melee and range character. He's not the best at anything but well-rounded. The ranger is best from a distance but not really skilled at dishing out melee damage. The wizard is more of your range support style, typically applying like special effects on enemy characters. It can give you a tactical edge in battle. The beast is typically your strongest melee character, having the most health but no range attack. Now there are exceptions to this basic explanation to the character types, like the beast. He can make a range attack while he's on water. Basically he is there's the, let's find him in here. So we go to the beast. There's Wilfred Hama, for example, and he is a walrus beast that throws a spearfish at his enemies. So kind of everybody has like a unique style, a unique element to them, and that's what kind of gives this game a lot of variation, is each of these characters has a lot of different special abilities and special things that they can do, whether they can make range attacks, melee, special abilities like swimming, a battle roar, poisoned shots, twin arrows, running really fast with a sprint, piercing shot, inspire, taunt. There's Lather the fighter. After performs a melee attack, all allies within 4 spaces heal 1 health. Nim the ranger can deal extra damage when attacking from a 4 space. There's just so much in there. The game begins with each player randomly drawing 1 of 4 of each of the previously mentioned adventure types. So after you don't really have to set it up first, but what you're going to do is you're going to draft or randomly be selected 1 of each of these character types. So after forming your party and depending on the game type, so this is the 1 versus 1 type setup. You set up your board. Aesthetically, it looks great. It reminds me a lot of like Final Fantasy Tactics. Position is everything in Final Fantasy Tactics, just as you remember from other like tactics games. Elevation is going to make a difference. It can give you a little bit of extra range performing a range attack, or give you a little bit of added distance away from enemies' range attacks themselves. So like if you're a higher range, you're going to have extra, but if they're shooting up to you, it's going to be harder for them to hit you, which really makes the game aesthetically. It also stops melee attacks from being performed from 2 adventurers. Other terrain elements are present on the map as well. So you've got like water, you got forest, you got towers, towns that you can go in and replenish, like arrows and magic, things like that. But after forming your party and deploying your characters, the adventure begins. Each player has 3 actions they can perform. The actions available are move, melee attack, range attack, and last magic attack. Each character in the party is allowed to take 1 action or push themselves and take 2 separate actions, but obviously gives them a weakness token, which is these little itty bitty little tokens here. And there are several in this box. There's quite a few of them here. I think, just piles and piles and piles of tokens. So, there's quite a few of these weakness tokens in the box. So it stops you from activating again in subsequent turn unless you pay 2 health to remove the weakness token. And at the end of the turn in which the weakened character took no actions, the weakened state is removed. So each of the actions, the move action allows you to transverse the indicated number of spaces for that character. Movement is orthogonal. So let's look at Luma here. She has a movement of 3. Okay. So you can't measure diagonals. So like, let's say we were activating Luma, which is our wizard, and our wizard is over here. So we can move orthogonal. We just can't move diagonal. Okay. The next thing is melee attack. Deal the listed amount of damage on your attacks and roll an indicated number of dice. For each red result, you push the enemy character 1 space. So for example, her melee attack would hit for 2 health, and you would roll 1 dice. Now, there are 3 dice included in this game with a couple different facings. You got the melee push, you got the ranged, and then you also have the magic. Now, on these dice, the actual numbers, there are 3 of the push, there are 2 of the magic, and there is 1 of the ranged. Okay, there's 3 dice included in the game itself. You would deal the listed amount of damage or attacks. You roll the number of indicated dice. For each red result, you could push an enemy character back 1 space, potentially dealing extra damage and even forcing them off a cliff. So if we were like this, and this melee character Luma was attacking here, we happen to roll the 1 dice, we get the red result, we would be able to push him off of the cliff. Interesting enough, though, according to the rulebook, falling off a cliff or an edge deals no extra damage. I feel that's a huge, actually, missed opportunity that it could have been, but could be a balancing issue. Because to me, if you're being forced off of a cliff, I mean, that could be painful, you know. And I think dealing maybe an extra point of damage would have been pretty fun. Potentially, you know, you deal 2, and then you just need that 1 more, and they fall and land, and then they bust their head open. Ranged attacks allowing a ranged character to spend an arrow resource. Now let's go over some of the resources here. So let's look at a ranged character. So let's look at Nim, for example. So Nim has a movement of 4, a 1 melee attack damage, a ranged thing here. You notice a range of 5. So there's different symbols on here. So again, the movement, the number of health you cause and damage, how many dice you roll when you attack, and then the range stat here. So it's going to cause 1 wound, range of 5. You're going to roll 2 of the dice. Now, what you don't want to roll is you don't want to roll the greens in this instance, okay? So if you roll a green, you have to spend 1 of your resources. Now, at the beginning of the game, each of your characters are going to start off with these itty-bitty little tokens on the number, okay? And if you roll the green, this is going to move down 1, expending 1 of your arrows. Now, if you ever run out, then obviously you can't continue to make the shot, and you're going to spend 1 for making the shot anyway. So if you're going to make a ranged attack, so that moves down to 6, then you roll a green on the 2 dice you have to roll. This will automatically drop down to the 5. Now, as you can see, the thing is these tokens are itty bitty. I mean, there's quite a few of them, enough for several players to be able to use them as far as the green. But these things are tiny, and as you can see, they don't really stay on these cards very well. And if you have big hands like me, or people are knocking the table, that could be an issue. And the last thing we have here is magic attack. Kind of works in a similar facet. This attack costs 1 magic. For this attack, you may spend extra magic dice. For example, here, this is going to be no damage attack. It is the blue dice there. If you do, for every single blue symbol, you add additional effects based on the character's individual abilities. So if you do this, you can roll 1 to 3. It's in melee range, and you're going to be able to roll if you get for the number of symbols. So 1 target plus 1 per blue rolled, and adjacent in a water or forest space takes 2 damage. So it's potential to be able to do some extra damage depending on what position and where they're at on the board. And lots of different characters have different things like over Richt here, range of 4. It's a curse. The target takes 1 wound, plus 1 wound for every blue symbol that you roll on the dice. So let's say we go ahead and spend a magic resource, and we're going to go ahead and spend 3 more magic resources. So this is going to start off at the 7, go down because we use it, then 1, 2, 3, and this goes down to the 3 spot. So very powerful attack. We roll our 3 dice because that's how much we spent, and we got 1 blue token or a blue symbol on the dice. So for every blue symbol, again, this guy right here doesn't do any damage in and of itself, but they're going to take 1 for having the thing. So 1 for the actual curse itself. So I guess potentially 2 damage, and they're weakened, which is the good thing. So different effects that can happen based on the magic. Again, more your support character. So another important aspect of this game is the important counterattack. After you attack an opponent's character, they have the option to counterattack if possible. The counterattack is a free out-of-turn attack that doesn't cost them an action, but may make it cost arrows or magic. Example, your beast performs a melee attack on an enemy ranger. So let's say we're set up like this. The beast is going to attack this enemy ranger. After rolling your dice, you push the character back 2 spaces. The attack does not do enough damage to capture him or knock him out in how this is called. But is within 4 space range of his range attack, so he can range attack back. The ranger announces a counterattack and spends 1 or 2 of his remaining arrows to do so. Then the ranger rolls his 2 required dice and rolls 2 green symbols, for example. Spinning, but because he rolled more arrows than he had available, his counterattack would miss. But if he were to land it and not roll any greens and not spin the arrows, then he would actually hit. And then at the end of the turn, you draw a tactics card. Now, tactics card are actually pretty cool. So the tactics deck, there's lots of different tactics cards in here. So like knock them out. There's basically a lot of if-then statements. So like, for example, recruit a comrade, If you end the movement of an ally, if you end the movement of an ally on any one of the spaces that a player had an ally at the start of the game, so basically one of their spawn points, then immediately draw a new ally card randomly. Must be a character type that you do not have in play. That ally starts with 4 health, full magic and range, on an empty space adjacent to the ally that just moved. I mean, that's huge. Lie low. If you move at least 2 allies into lower terrain in a single turn and not by using a portal, then immediately move each of the 2 allies that moved 1 extra space. Now, the next thing, as far as like we talk about portals, if you notice on the board, there's these arrows here. And what those allow you to do is actually go into a portal and then come out of another portal. And this allows you to traverse the map, quite quickly. And the tactics cards are very key to victory. You can only have so many in your hand at a time. By leveraging the right tactics, positioning your character, and leveraging terrain elements on your advantage, it will help you maintain dominant control of the 3 different control areas across the map. So if you notice on here, there's different flags here, here, and here. And those are kind of like what you're going after. Now, the whole point of the game is to achieve control over the different areas. Having control is having majority of your guys in a space. There's the solo. And every time that, one of these occurs, your flag is going to move up. So you might think the game's going to end pretty quickly. But what you're going to find is, people are going to move in and then push people back. So now there's no majority here. And you're going to keep fighting this ebbing flow battle until either one person is completely wiped out, one person maintains control. But, as far as scoring victory points, for each of the, enemy characters you knock out grants you 2. There's just lots of different ways to score victory points and win this game. A very, very, very fun game. Again, the game aesthetically looks amazing. One of the detriments that I have as far as like the components is these tokens are just so darn small. I love how they look. I love how they're like, designed. Like you look at the little green symbols, you got the hearts, you got the blue little vials. Very cool looking, but man, they're tiny. I wish I would have had like a slider that kind of clipped to the edge of the cards. Now, normally I don't like that, but I think in this instance it'd have been well received. You also have solo variant, which is absolutely fantastic. It gives you more variation. Now on the other side of this cloth map, you have a different setup. You have a center control point. And then also inside these boxes, you have a dungeon mode that you can play. We're going to be going through a dungeon when you set up, and it gives you different spawn points and things. So much in this game, so much as far as versatility, different ways to play. I think this game has so much replayability, and I think this is one that you're going to be playing for a long time. So let's head back up and we'll talk about our final thoughts. All right, so that was Tiny Epic Tactics. I think the components are very well done in this game. I think everything is fantastic, from the 3D element to the cloth mat. I think is really well done as well. The only downside that I have is the little tokens that they use for the range, the health, and the mana potions. I think they're a little bit small. They don't really... You bump the table if things are going to go everywhere, and it's kind of hard to keep track. I kind of wish they would use sliders, something that would have adhered more to the cards themselves. But otherwise, components are really well done. The gameplay itself is very reminiscent of Final Fantasy Tactics. If you like that kind of game, you're really going to dig this. I love how much you have in the box with this. The cooperative, the one player, the 2 versus 2, the free-for-all. It just has so much. The variant on how you can set up the map, the double side. I just think there's so much in this game that for the small price tag, this game has, lack of a better thing, is it has a big box feel. And not many games go off of gameplay as much as I think that this one really just works really well with a game that you can just put in a small backpack, take with you, and have a huge feeling epic game. And I think of any of the Tiny Epic games, this one is the most epic, the most ambitious, the best gameplay of all of the Tiny Epic games. I cannot recommend this one enough. Definitely pick this one up. If you're going to only pick up one of the Epic games, this one is the one for me. And again, if you like those tiny, like the Final Fantasy Tactics games, this one is probably for you as well. So be sure to check this one out. Way high recommendation on this one for Mature Minded Gamers. So if you like what you see here for Mature Minded Gamers, please hit that like and subscribe button. We have a whole bunch of other content on maturemindedgamers.com. We'd love to have you join our Discord as well. So until next time, we'll see you at the table.